Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer.com. Today on our 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Curt T-connector vehicle wiring harness. Now whenever we're towing a trailer, this is going to provide it with the necessary lighting functions to not only remain safe by letting other motorists see what our intentions are, but also legal. Now my personal favorite thing about this wiring and what separates it from some of the others is the fact that it's going to have a module box. Now what that box is going to do, it's going to protect our vehicle's factory wiring if a short or anything like that were to occur on our trailer side. Now the wiring is going to put out a maximum amperage of 3 amps for our stop and turn signals and 6 amps for our tail lights. So more or less, you're going to be able to use any light that you would want, whether it be an LED or an incandescent. Now the end of it does have a nice rubber cap, which will help keep our terminals protected from moisture and debris, and it kind of serves as a hanger too. So if we're not using this, say while we're on our trip, but we don't want to put it all the way back inside the car, we can just loop it around our safety chain hook and keep it in place this way. Now one of the things I do recommend is to use some dielectric grease on our terminals, and that'll help prevent even more that corrosion. And whenever you're done towing your trailer and you're ready to put your wiring back, all you simply do is open up your hatch, flip open your cargo area, roll it up, and store it inside. That way it's out of the way. Now when you're ready, you just take it, hang it over your threshold, and close your hatch on it. Now really the only thing you have to watch out for is when you do this, make sure you avoid the latch itself, because if you get it mixed up in here with the latch, that can cause some damage. But anywhere else along the threshold and the weather seal will be just fine. Now a question that we get from many of our customers is how to figure out if they have a factory tow package. Well, the one quick way that you can find that out is if you remove this little panel here over on the driver's side and look up behind the bumper on the side. If you have a factory tow package, you're going to have a connector there. Now when it comes to the installation, many of our customers said that they were surprised and it really wasn't as bad as they thought it would be, which it really isn't. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and hook everything up together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working in the back of our vehicle, so we'll go ahead and open up our hatch. Now what we're going to do is lift open our cargo lid. And underneath we're going to have our spare tire tools. We just need to pick these up, set them off to the side. Now we're going to have 3 caps that we need to remove the lids on. There could be one here and 2 more here on the driver's side. So to get those, just take a flathead screwdriver, pry underneath them and pop them open. And underneath them we're going to have a bolt here that we need to take out with a 10mm socket. And I'm going to repeat that process for the 2 remaining bolts. And once we have those out, simply pull up on our compartment, kind of spin it, pull it out of the car and set it off to the side. Now we can remove our threshold, and this is really simple. We'll just start at one end and kind of pry up on it with our hands, kind of work towards the center and pop it free. Now if we flip it over, we'll see some blue clips, and that's what we're releasing from the body of our vehicle to get our threshold off. Now on each side of our panel, underneath the ends of our threshold that we took off, we're going to have a screw here that we need to take out. Now we need to remove our tail lights, and to do that we're going to have these black plastic covers that we need to pop off. So using a flathead, we'll kind of get behind it. You might have to kind of work it from top to bottom to get it to break free. And once it does, we can set it off to the side Now we're going to have 2 screws exposed that's holding our taillight in place, so we'll go ahead and remove those. Once we have our screws removed, we can work our taillight out. And if it does hang up a little bit here towards the back, I'll show you a trick to get it to break free. What you can do is kind of support one end of the light with your hand and take the palm of your other hand and kind of just tap it forward to get it to release from this alignment pin. Now once we have it released, we can unplug it. There will be a plug here in the center. Push that tab down, pull it out, and we can set our light off to the side and repeat that same process over on the passenger side. Both of our tail lights are removed. We can then come here to our grommet where our electrical connector is coming through and just grab it with our hand, work your finger behind it and pull it out of place just like this. We're going to separate this panel here from the body of our vehicle. That way we can get our hand back there and get our wiring ran into the taillight pocket. So how to get this off, kind of start at the bottom, kind of just work your way up, releasing those clips. And you don't need to take it completely off, you just want to have it removed enough so you can reach your hand back here. And the passenger side will work the same way. So now we can take our new harness and we're going to take the T-connector end here with the red, brown, and yellow wires. We're going to slide these connectors behind the panel and get them to come out through our opening here in the taillight pocket. Now this is kind of tough to see, so you'll just kind of have to go off by feel, but it's not too hard to get to. Once we have those through our opening, what we're going to do is take the factory connector and plug it into our new harness. Now if we take our grommet here that we pulled out, what we're going to do is put a little slice in it. That way we can run our new wire through it. I'm just going to use a razor blade to do this, or you can use a pair of snips. Just be very careful not to cut into the actual wiring itself. Once you make an opening like so, go ahead and run our wire through it. And we're able to push everything back into place. It's no big deal if you get it perfect, because what we're going to do is take some of the included silicone and put a bead of silicone around that. Make sure we get it nice and sealed up. You want to save yourself enough of this so you can do this over on the other side as well. Now let's go ahead and ground out our ground wire. It'll be the white wire with the pre-attached ring terminal. Now we just need to make sure that we secure this to a clean, solid piece of metal. Now I'm going to choose right here against our threshold, and I'm going to attach it using the included self-tapping screw. Then we'll grab our green wire with the T-connector on it, run that over to the passenger side, go in behind her panel and out the taillight pocket, just like we did on the driver's side. Over here on the passenger side, I went ahead and put a slice in my grommet, pushed our wire through it, and sealed it up with some silicone. So now we can take our length of black power wire and connect it to the black wire coming out of our box. So how we're going to do this is take one of the included butt connectors. We're going to first connect it to the black wire coming out of our box. We'll slide it over the exposed copper and crimp that butt connector down. We can take one end of our power wire, strip back some of that insulation where we have exposed copper, place that end into the butt connector, get it crimped down. Now what I'm actually going to do is take the other end of our wire and I'm going to reach back up here and run this end through that grommet in our driver's side taillight pocket. That way we can drop it down underneath the vehicle. And here's what the wire looks like once I ran it out through our grommet. Now we need to take the end of it and drop it down through this opening behind our bumper. To make that a little bit easier, I'm using a piece of nylon tubing, and I'm going to use it as a fish wire. Now, if you don't have a piece of nylon tubing, you can use a coat hanger or even another thicker piece of wire to get this done. We're going to take the end of it, push it down through that opening, and we kind of reach up behind the bumper and grab the other end of our fish wire. I went ahead and connected my electrical power wire to our fish wire. Now we can grab the bottom side of our fish wire, pull that down, and that'll get all of our electrical wire to drop through. Now if we move back inside, what we need to do now is take our box and secure it. So what I went ahead and did was chose a spot, and I'm going to choose right here. That way it's out of the way from everything and it's on a flat, solid piece of metal. I went ahead and used some cleaner to clean not only the back of our box, but also the surface that we're going to mount it to. And to secure it, we're going to use the included piece of double-sided sticky tape. So peel back one side of it, stick it to our box, peel back that other side, then we're able to mount it to the body of our vehicle. Now we can go ahead and plug our taillights back in and re-secure them using the factory hardware. And do the same thing over here on the other side. Go ahead and re-secure our panels, and don't forget to put in that screw holding them down. Now for our green wire that runs over here to the passenger side, what I did was, so it just isn't flopping around, I took some packing tape, kind of pulled that wire somewhat tight, and just taped it against the body of our vehicle to keep it in place. Now we can go ahead and put our threshold back into place. Just line it up and tap it down. And just a quick tip, your weather stripping, the edge should actually sit on top of the threshold like that. So if it gets pinched underneath it, when you put that threshold back on, what you can do is kind of pull it away from the body of the vehicle, and then just push it back into place. Then we can line up our cargo compartment, push that back into place, and then re-secure it using the factory hardware. Now I went ahead and ran our power wire up to the front of our vehicle, and this is where it dropped down at. Now I did remove this panel just to make it a little bit easier, which this is really simple. It's just held in place by a couple plastic fasteners. You don't have to, but it will make it easier to work with. I ran it up along above our subframe. Now you want to be sure to avoid any hot or moving parts. Secured it along these lines with some zip ties. Ran it along the side of our fuel tank. Around our canister here. And I just followed our factory lines and ran it up. That way we can get it into the engine compartment. Now the way I'm going to do that is I actually took a piece of nylon tubing and dropped the end of it down from the top of the engine compartment, and then I was able to connect our power wire to that. That way when we lower the car down and go back up top, we can simply just grab our pull wire, pull it up, and that'll bring the power wire right where we need it to be. So I went ahead and pulled my power wire up into the engine compartment. And I just secured it right here to hold it tight. Now what we need to do is connect our power wire to a fuse holder, which will then get connected to the positive terminal on our battery. So I'll kind of just route this over to the proximity of our positive battery terminal. And that way I can get an idea if I need to trim any wire off. Which in this case, once we add our fuse holder, we're not going to have to, so I'll leave it at this length. Now we can go ahead and connect our fuse holder to our power wire. Now before you do anything with the fuse holder, you want to make sure to open the cap and make sure the fuse is not installed. So once you verified that, what we're going to do is take one end of our fuse holder and attach a butt connector. Now I'm using a heat shrink butt connector since this will live underneath the hood. That heat shrink just gives it a little extra protection. However, the ones that come in the kit will work just fine. Crimp that down. We can grab our power wire, peel back some of the insulation, put it into the other end of the butt connector, crimp that end down. Now on the other end of our fuse holder, we're going to attach the included ring terminal. This will work the same way as our butt connector. Just slide it over the wire and crimp it down. Now I went ahead and just used a heat gun to put some heat to our shrink. That way it would get smaller and create a nice seal. So now we're going to connect our ring terminal to our positive battery terminal. Now what I went ahead and did was just use a pair of snips and cut out a small opening here in our plastic case. That way our wire can sit in there nice and flush. We're going to connect it to this post. So we're going to remove that nut using a 10mm. We're just going to loosen it until it gets tight. We don't want to go past that point because this nut isn't designed to come off completely. But once you feel it get a little snug, you can stop. And then what we're going to do is take our ring terminal and cut an opening in it. That way we can slide it under the nut around the post and tighten everything back down. Just cut out a small opening. And work that ring terminal around. If you have to cut a little bit bigger opening, that's fine. Once we have it around it, we can go ahead and tighten that nut back down. With everything tightened back down, go ahead and close your cover. We're going to take the included fuse and put that into the holder. Push it all the way down and close your dust cap. Now any extra wire that we have that's loose, we can go ahead and take that slack out and secure it using the included zip ties. Alright, this is what it looks like once we have it all secured, and now we can go ahead and test everything to make sure it's working properly. Now I'm using a tester to make sure everything's working. If you don't have one of these, you can just plug into your trailer and do it that way. So we'll go ahead and try our left turn, our right turn, our brake lights, and our running lights. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt T-connector vehicle wiring harness on our 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe.